Okay, I'm going to take a moment. This is the third one in the series about naming geometric figures. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at shapes or polygons. First one we talked about lines, the second one we talked about angles. Now I'm going to be looking at polygons in general. Remember, polygons are formed by straight sides. So they are closed figures with straight sides. So we're not talking curve, we're not talking about wonky shapes. We're talking about just straight sides. So there's two basic conventions that I want you to be aware of. Identify the shape by the symbol or the name. I'll explain that a little bit more. Sometimes we have some shortcuts for things that we can draw. Otherwise, you're just going to write the name out in terms of how many sides it has. And then list the vertices in a clockwise manner. Doesn't matter where you start. A lot of times if figures have an alphabetical order to them, we'll use that. But the key is you want to go clockwise as though you're drawing the figure. Okay? So for example, right here, ABC. By name, we would say that this is triangle. And then I have choices. It doesn't matter which point I start with. But what I want to do is I want to go in a clockwise manner. So I might start at the top with vertex B. Well, if I go clockwise, I'm going to go B to C to A. Now, it's not too big of a deal for a triangle because no matter which way I go, it'd still work, but it'll make more sense with our next example. Now, it doesn't have to be BCA. I could have started with any of my other points. I could have started with A, I could have started with C, and the key is that I go in a full circle, okay? Now, I might not always want to write out the word triangle, so we do have some shortcuts. I can come down here and write triangle BCA instead, okay? Just replacing it with the symbol or picture of a triangle. And again, it doesn't have to be those the letters in that order. I could have started with another point and gone A, B, C instead, and that would still be okay. Okay? So not too bad. Moving along, we could try this one right here. Now instead of 3 sides, I have 4. So if I think about the name of my shape, I'm going to start off by saying that it is a quadrilateral. And because I do notice that there is an alphabetical order possible, W, X, Y, Z, I'm going to take advantage of that and write W, X, Y, and Z. And if you follow those letters, here's what I want you to key in on. W to X, X to Y, Y to Z, and if I loop all the way back around, Z to W, it tells me to trace my figure. Now, just like with a triangle, I could just put a symbol there and write W, X, Y, Z. And here's where you've got to be careful. If you see this notation, this is saying quadrilateral. Whether it looks like a square or rectangle doesn't tell you it's a square or rectangle. They would need to say that. If you see a little box in front of it, it's only telling you that it's a quadrilateral, that it has 4 sides. And just to clarify so that we can see, the key, again, I could have started with any letter. I didn't have to start with W. I could have started with Y and just circled my way around. What I want you to key in on is that I do have to go in order. Suppose I said quadrilateral X, Z, W, Y. I named the same 4 points, right? So it shouldn't be an issue. But think about tracing it. I would start at X, and then I would go to Z, then W, and then Y. That clearly is not the same shape. And so that's what we're trying to key in on. Anytime we name polygons, you have to go in a clockwise manner. You have to go as though you're tracing the shape. Doesn't matter where you start. Doesn't matter whether you name the whole shape or use a little symbol as a shortcut. But the key is you have to name your vertices. You have to name your points in order.